Hey everyone, it's Lexie. So in today's video I'll be sharing with you all the books that I plan on reading in the month of October. So there are so many books here that I'm excited about. Usually I find I don't tend to read a lot of spooky Halloween-esque books during October, but this year I just had a good selection and I was like, you know what? I'll get the total Halloween spooky vibe with a lot of these, so I was like, why not? So these are kind of all over. They're mostly kind of fantasy genre with kind of a Halloween witchy vibe to it, which I'm really excited about. And then there's one new release as well that I can't wait to pick up. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So starting out with the new release, I have The Winners by Fredrik Backman. This is the third book in the Beartown trilogy series. I don't know what it's gonna be at this point, but for this one, when I saw that it was being released, I didn't want to read anything in terms of synopsis. I just wanted to dive right in. But the basic premise of this series, and I was gonna mix series and story into one. So the basic premise of this kind of series is that it follows a small town in Sweden where the pride and joy of this town is the junior hockey league, and when they are kind of going to the finals, everyone is excited, but when the captain of the hockey team ends up being accused of raping the general manager's daughter, it divides the town and it kind of goes off from there. This book is very interesting. I think it kind of showcases the darker side to humanity. It integrates a lot of rape culture into the discussion as well, and it's a very hard read, but I think it's a very important read as well. So again, I don't know nothing about the synopsis as I saw when it was going to be kind of a continuation of the Beartown story. I just automatically pre-ordered it from the library, so I hope when I'm filming this, it comes out today, so I hope within the month of October I'll be able to get it from the library. So next, moving on to the kind of more Halloween vibey books. The first one I have is more of a horror novel, and it is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. This book is obviously very popular here on BookTube. It made its rounds last year, and I've decided to just finally pick it up. My boyfriend read this a couple months ago too, and he really liked it, and so I purchased myself a copy, and I was like, you know what? October seems like the good time to read this type of story. So here is what it says. After receiving a frantic letter from her newlywed cousin, Naomi heads to High Place, a distant house in the Mexican countryside. Naomi is, I think that's how you pronounce it. Naomi is an unlikely rescuer. She's a glamorous debutante, more suited for cocktail parties than amateur sleuthing. But she's also tough, smart, and not afraid. Not of her cousin's new English husband, a stranger who is both menacing and alluring. Not of his father, the ancient patriarch who seems fascinated by Naomi. And not even of the house itself, which begins to invade Naomi's dreams with vision of blood and doom. Naomi's only ally is the inhospitable place in the family's youngest son, but he too may be hiding a dark secret. But as Naomi begins to unearth stories of violence and madness, she is slowly drawn into a terrifying yet seductive world, a world that may be impossible to escape. I thought this one would just be kind of a fun, I haven't really read anything like this too, so I think it would make for a fun read, and it is fairly short too. It is just 300 pages, so it shouldn't be too challenging of a read, especially because there's some bigger books in here as well, so I think it'll be nice to have kind of a shorter novel to kind of break up the bigger tomes of this TBR. So this is one that I heard Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction talk about, and as soon as he mentioned this, I was like, oh my goodness, I need to read this. And I was like, you know what? October is going to be the perfect time to pick this one up, and it is The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin, and this one just sounded super interesting. It integrates kind of climate change into elemental witch magic, which I think is very interesting. But the synopsis says, for centuries witches have maintained the climate, but now their control is faltering as the atmosphere becomes more erratic, the storms more destructive. All hope lies with Clara, a once-in-a-generation ever witch whose magic is tied to every season. In autumn, Clara wants nothing to do with her power. It's wild and volatile, and the price of her magic, losing the one she loves, is too high despite the need to control the increasingly dangerous weather. In winter, the world is on the precipice of disaster. Fire burns, storms rage, and Claire accepts that she's the only one who can make a difference. In spring, she falls for Sang, a witch training her. As her magic grows, so do her feelings for him, until she's terrified Sang will be the next one she loses. In summer, Claire must choose between her power and her happiness, her duty and the people she loves, before she loses Sang and her magic, and the world is thrust into chaos. So I thought this one sounded really interesting. Again, this is also fairly short too, and it has a lot of spacing. But yeah, I just think this sounds super interesting. Sorry, that is the mail truck going by. But I think it's just interesting how this author is integrating kind of the fantastical witch elemental magic into kind of the current climate crisis. I think is very interesting. So yeah, this one just sounds super interesting and kind of has that October Halloween vibe that I apparently was wanting this month. So this should go as no surprise. This book has been very much talked about since its release last month, and it is Babel by R.F. Kuang. I figure I still haven't read The Poppy War. I bought The Poppy War like a year ago, and I haven't read it yet. But this one, I just feel like I'm just more excited about. Even though I do want to read The Poppy War, I'm really excited for this one. It kind of has a dark academia vibe that is also a critique on colonialism, which I think is really interesting. But I've heard great things about this one as well. My boyfriend has read this one and he's really enjoyed it as well. But yeah, it just sounds super interesting and kind of has that autumnal vibe that I've been wanting. So it says 1828. Robin Swift, orphaned by Coria in Canton, is brought to London by the mysterious Professor Lovell. There, Robin trains for years in Latin, ancient Greek, and Chinese, all in preparation for the day he'll enroll in Oxford University's prestigious Royal Institute of Translation, also known as Babel. The tower and its students are the world's center for translation and, more importantly, magic. Silver, working the art of manifesting the meaning lost in translation using enhanced silver bars, has made the British unparalleled in power as the arcane craft serves the Empire's quest for colonization. For Robin, Oxford is a utopia dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge. But knowledge obeys power, and as a Chinese boy raised in Britain, he realizes serving Babel means betraying his motherland. As his studies progress, Robin finds himself caught between Babel and the shadowy Hermes Society, an organization dedicated to stopping imperial expansion. When Britain pursues an unjust war with China over silver and opium, Robin must decide. I just think this sounds super interesting. Again, I've heard great things about this, and this is a fairly big book too, so that's why some of these other books, although they fall into like the theme I was looking for, are a little bit shorter because this is fairly large. So I cannot wait to pick this one up. It just has that kind of dark academia autumnal vibe that I've been really craving recently, so I cannot wait to pick this one up. And lastly, this is a book that's been on my shelf for a while, and I was like, you know what, it is fairly short. It kind of has that witchy vibe that I've been kind of looking for in October, and it is The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. This is, again, a book that's been on my TBR for a while, and you can see it is a very short novel. So I was like, this could be a nice, like, quick read after, you know, the giant tome that Babel is. So I'm really excited for this one. This, again, kind of has like it's like a historical fiction fantasy aspect with a dual storyline. So this one just sounds super intriguing, and it involves poison, which is always fun. So it says, hidden in the depths of 18th century London, a secret apothecary shop caters to an unusual kind of clientele. Women across the city whisper of a mysterious figure named Nella who sells well-disguised potions to use against the oppressive men in their lives. Nella's dark world is no place for her newest patron, a precocious 12-year-old girl named Eliza Fanning, but their unexpected bond sparks a string of consequences that echoes through the centuries. 200 years later, aspiring historian Caroline Parcell discovers an aged apothecary vial in the River Thames. As she is newly grappling with the searing betrayal of her husband's infidelity, a curious research project is exactly the distinction Caroline needs. But when she discovers a link between the vial and London's long unsolved apothecary murder, orders. Caroline's upended present soon collides with an explosive history, binding her fate to Nella's and Eliza in a stunning twist that transcends the barrier of time. So I just think this sounds super interesting. I like kind of how it has that kind of like witchy apothecary vibe in the kind of 1800s in London, and then also kind of has that dual storyline as well, because you know I'm a sucker for kind of like those historical fiction dual storylines where the present day is trying to figure out what happened in the past and you get flashbacks of the past. But I love these, and I haven't read like a historical fiction in a while, which is pretty crazy because I feel like that was like my favorite genre for a while. So hopefully maybe this will spark my interest for a kind of historical fiction kick in the winter, who knows. But yeah, again, this is one that's been on my shelf for a while that I think will be fun to pick up. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what books you plan on reading this month and all of that fun stuff. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.